There we go. The intro, the buzzing music, keeping everyone energized. Welcome. Ah, you got your dinner. Look, you're already in.
No, I've got my dessert.
Look at it. He just popped in. He's got his dessert. How is the food here in the cafe, James? Is it really nice?
The food's very good. I got choc chip ice cream and an Oreo biscuit.
Choc chip and Oreo biscuit. That is delicious. Thank you for sharing as well, mate. I really do appreciate it. Welcome, everyone, to the Cuppa of Life Cafe. If this is your first time in the virtual cafe, please take a virtual seat, get comfy. Like what we do every single time when we kick it off, I want to make sure that everyone uses the chat function today, ask plenty of questions, get involved. But like what we've been doing at the start of every session, we just want to make sure that everyone is aware that we're raising funds for the Australian Sports Foundation. A lot of community clubs are struggling at the moment. If you've heard the stats, it's around 16,000 community clubs could be going under due to COVID. And what we're trying to do here is raise as much money as possible to support those amazing clubs that produce the next Olympians and gold medalists. And before we keep on going, so make sure that you be nice, play kind, get interactive, be involved, ask plenty of questions, and also make sure you share it across all your social channels as well. So, Kerri, our guests are already in the room.
They're already in the room. They need no introduction, but I'm going to give them one anyway. It's so awesome to be here again. I don't know what number night it is. We have had such an amazing week. We've had such amazing people, so many legends on, and we've got two more incredible legends on the Athlete Story powered by the Cuppa of Life Cafe. So we're really happy to have you guys on tonight. But before I kind of give you an official intro, I just want to explain what the Athlete Story is all about. It's basically about inspiring the nation and the world in the time that the Olympics would have been on. So we all would have been glued to our TV sets this time, you know, if it would have been on tonight. And in fact, tonight would have been, I think it would have been the last day of the rowing. You could, like, I don't know, James, if you know that, last day of the rowing. And I think it was probably one of the first or second days of the shooting. So it's fitting that we have you guys on tonight. So welcome, Suzy Balogh and James Tomkins. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Kerri. Thanks for having us.
Hi, guys.
It's great to have you on now. Where would you have been if the Olympics were on? Like, a lot of us kind of get invited to go over there, whether it's commentating or whether it's corporate work or whether we're coaching or whatever. Suzy, I'll start with you. Where would you have been if the Olympics would have been on right now?
In my Ugg boots and trackies at home, glued to the TV.
Perfect. So would you have had any mentor roles with the athletes in their lead up?
Through the Gold Medal Ready program, the mentor role, we have that with that. And some of the shooters I still am really close with and keep in contact. Yep.
Oh, fantastic. What about you, James? Would you have had anything to do with anyone?
Yeah, I would have. Well, yeah, I would have been. I would have been over there. I'm on the Athletes Commission for the IOC, so I definitely would have been over there, and we would have been running all the what's called the athlete space. Suzy, you would have remembered that over in the games, the athlete space in the front of the dining hall, where we try and educate all the athletes about, well, not educate them, but give them ideas about all the sorts of stuff about transition and clean sport and fair play and all that sort of thing.
Oh, that's really cool. Now, you've been involved with that for what, about 8 years or something with the Athletes Commission, is that right?
Yeah, I came on in London, and given the postponement of the games, I get another year. So I go through to next year. So I'll be there next year, fingers crossed. And
you just get to chat to the athletes the whole time. Like, you would have been at the rowing for sure, right, tonight?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but our function there is to one, run the election for the Athletes Commission, two, run the athlete space, which is all the things that I mentioned beforehand, and then three, we've been doing a lot of work with the Aussie team, getting out there and supporting the Aussies as much as possible. And the other aspect is just being there to talk to all of the athletes, all of the world athletes, and try and hear what their issues are, or what their concerns are, or what their suggestions are about all of the rules and regulations around the Olympic Games.
It's so cool that, as Olympians, we all get to kind of be involved if we want to be involved. It's like being part of a family, and that's why it's been so nice to, you know, be able to get all you guys on this series and just, you know, come in and share your story. Now I want to start with Suzy. So Suzy,
hey, Kerri, before you kick it off, it says that your sound, people are struggling with your sound. So
with my sound.
yeah, your volume. I think you're all right, but do you want to just come a little bit closer just to see if that makes a difference?
Yeah. Is this better, everybody? Is this better? I'll talk louder. How about that?
Talk louder.
Give us some feedback in the chat box if this is better. I'll keep going and we'll see how we go. So, Suzy, you were the first Australian woman to ever win Olympic gold in shooting, gold in Athens in 2004, and gold at the Commonwealth Games in 2006 as well. Clay target shooting and hunting was in your blood as a young girl. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved.
Look, my grandfather used to shoot over in Hungary, and when the family came to Australia, they continued shooting. Grandpa had a gun shop, Dad had a gun shop, always involved with it. And eventually I decided to give clay target shooting a go, and I got hooked the day I gave it a go.
So were you, like, when was the earliest that you had your hands on a gun?
I think I had a gun license from the age of 10. So I've been shooting for 37 years now, which is pretty long time. And we would have been rabbit shooting at that stage and duck hunting. And it wasn't until I was 14 that I actually gave clay target a go.
And was that something that your parents kind of encouraged you to do, or is that something that, did you see someone on the Olympics on TV and think, oh, I want to do that?
My dad used to represent the state and so on. So he was a very competitive shooter. My whole childhood, we'd jump in a car on a Friday night and head off to some place around Australia for a competition. So I grew up following the shooting circuit, but there was always shooters that were highly competitive around. That's the one nice thing about shooting, is that, Kerri, you could join the Clay Target Association tomorrow and you could do the next Olympic trials next to me or whoever else. There's no stepping stone to get to the selection trials. So it's been around. I've been around people that have won Commonwealth medals growing up and been to Olympics. So it was kind of an inspiration.
Now, I know before Athens, you were actually at the Sydney Games. Tell us about what you did at the Sydney Games, because I read you were a filler.
Yeah, so kind of imagine a swimming pool where you've got 8 lanes, but only 7 of the lanes are filled up. And it's not really fair if that heat's only got 7 in it compared to ones with 8. In clay target shooting, we need 6 in a squad. And the Sydney Olympics, I'd missed out on it, and I'd only just been shooting the Olympic stuff for a few years. And they gave me the phone call a few weeks beforehand and said, Suze, would you like to come along and be a filler? So I got to go along and make up numbers and be a filler in the competition. And I wasn't allowed to look Australian or even look like I knew how to shoot, really. But I looked at the scoreboard, and I would have actually made both the finals for trap and double trap, but you've got no pressure on you as a filler. And it was there I decided that I really, really wanted to be an Olympian, because on the board it said no name, no country. So that's why I went to Athens. I worked so hard, so I had a name and a country, and, you know, following process, I managed to get a gold.
Wow, how awesome is that? What a great story. I know that, James, you've been to just a couple of Olympic Games. Now, I've got a bit of an intro here. Let me just read through this. 7-time world champ, the only rower in history to win world titles in every sweep or event, competed in 6 games, only 6, 92, 96, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012. 3 golds, 1 bronze. But listen to this. I made a little kind of poem for you today, James. In 88, you were 6th in the 8. In 92, you were 1st in the 4. In 96, you were again 1st in the 4. In 2000, you were 3rd in the 2. In 04, you were 1st in the 2. And in 08, you were 6th in the 8.
That's lovely.
That? Like, does that just roll off the tongue?
Banjo Patterson-esque.
Now, like, I've got to say, how the hell do you stay as fit as you obviously had to be throughout that entire period, you know, over 20 years of like peak physical fitness? How'd you do it? Are you just like a natural, or did you work your butt off?
Well, a bit of both. A bit of both, I think. And actually, a third thing is that you see those photos there, like they're all some of my best mates. And so and that's the beauty. And Suzy, you know, an individual sport. Kerri, you're in a team sport. But when you've got people around you and they rely on you and you're relying on them, it's relatively easy in that environment to stay motivated because, you know, there's people relying on you. But I love the sport and I love being active and I love being fit. And I really, you know, as I said, there's some of my best mates and you're surrounded by fantastic people representing your country, rowing on beautiful waterways around the world. Like it's good. It's good fun. I really enjoyed the training. I actually, funnily enough, Kerri, I didn't like the competition. I used to get so wound up and so nervous and so anxious. Like I hated it leading in. But just the preparation stuff I really enjoyed.
Well, that's obviously why you were so, like, your career had such longevity, because you just loved the training. That's really interesting because I don't know what the percentage would be, but I think most athletes that I've spoken to would say the opposite. Like I think Steph was saying last night, Stephanie Rice, how much she loves the competition. And Suzy, I'm sure you love the competition and the thrill as well. I don't know if we've lost your camera there, but I'm sure Suzy would have loved the thrill of the competition as well. But James, in that photo that we had just before, you're like, that's in London, I think, wasn't it? And you...
No, that would have been in the pair. That would have been Athens. So I went 88 to 2008. I didn't go to London.
Okay. So you looked quite exhausted there. I guess it was, you know, you were getting on a bit.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
You're a bit older than Drew there, but you were feeling it. You were really feeling it. Do you think it was the exhaustion of the rowing, or do you think it was the emotional? Like you said, you just didn't like it. It just took its toll on you emotionally.
Yeah. Like when I say I didn't like it, I didn't like the nerves and the anxiousness. Like the actual once you started competing, I was fine, but I just, because we were always expected to do well, because we're generally doing pretty well in world championships leading in, and there's that pressure of expectation, and there's, you know, real fear of failure. And so, you know, in some of the Olympic Games, there was no upside. It was like, if you won, that's what you're supposed to do. But if you lose, then, yeah, you're stuffed up massively. But that race in Athens with Drew, that was knife's edge. That was absolute knife's edge. I remember sort of 3/4 of the way through that race, I thought I was going to stop. I thought I'd had it. I couldn't go on. And Drew actually recognized that and then just talked me through it and, you know, breathe, relax. And you know, the next couple of 100 meters got myself through. And then we had about 300 meters to go and we were in front. And so then you can make the finish line. But it was such, you know, the competition's incredibly physical, incredibly technical, but also incredibly physical. And just to be on that knife's edge, where if you push too hard, you can go way over, and if you don't, obviously you need to. Yeah, Kerri, at the end of the race, the last stroke you can row should be the last one you can possibly do. I mean, that's the goal of your physical effort, and we went a bit early in that one.
So what happens if you blow it? What happens if you go too early and you just go over the edge? Like, do you just lose all
just power just drops off. Yeah, you shorten up. Then the boat. The boat speed drops. You go into the next lane. Yeah, you get disqualified. All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, just a little bit. So it really is that fine tune. So how does he recognize that you're struggling when he's looking at the back of your head?
Well, he can feel what's happening. I might have turned around and told him I was rooted. But he was great. He was like, and that's why you spend so much time nailing your technique when you're knackered. Everyone can row really well when they're fresh. When you're absolutely, exhausted, that's when you need perfect technique so that you can keep your boat speed up and you can recover a little bit and try and get there.
Well, talking about being
there we go, Suzy, you're back. Good.
Yay,
we can see you.
I don't know what happened.
We're just talking about James being knackered. James, can you explain what one of your toughest sessions might look like to the layperson who maybe goes for a little paddle on the ocean or a paddle in the river? What does one of your toughest sessions entail, and how long?
Well, Tim, I'll give you a day in Europe. So half an hour bike ride to training, 2 hours on the water before breakfast. And that'll be, pretty intense. That'll be 25, 30 Ks on the water, half an hour bike ride back, have breakfast, get on the bike, 5.5 hours riding around the Alps in Italy, come back, sort of lunch on the bike and come back with more food, then a weights session in the afternoon and then dinner and then collapse. And then you do it again the next day. But I loved it, Kerri.
I know, it sounds like you loved it. Now, we've got a picture of you from 92. I think Luke can put that picture up. A lot of people ask Natalie and I about our uniforms. What about your uniforms? I mean, I don't know.
Well, what do you... I mean, it's the green and gold, and we've got a medal around our neck, and we're celebrating.
Isn't it funny how, I don't know if people ask you about that, but we get asked that all the time. How do you feel? We're out there with nothing much, but you guys are out there with pretty tight clothing, so it doesn't really leave a lot to the imagination.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And it's the only sport where you go straight from your event, competing, straight to the dice. No tracksuits, nothing else. You straight off the water to get the medal.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's interesting. So you don't even get a chance to put on a pair of tracky dacks, because I know in Sydney we got to put on our tracksuits straight away. We went out the back, we combed our hair, but you guys are just dragged straight on. Let's get
pretty much. You finish the race, another race comes down, and then you do the ceremony. So you're as is, as they say.
Mate, no wonder you got that. No wonder you got that fruit commercial.
The twig and berries.
We talked a little bit about that last night with Nick. Suzy, what was it like the night before your final? We often talk to athletes about, did you sleep? What were you thinking about? How did you feel the night before your final? Because, there's a big lead up to this. You went to Sydney and then you made it in Athens, and this was your final. What was going through your mind?
Well, I had a tough time getting there. I'd had a back injury and had to, recover from that from when I qualified all the way through. So I actually wasn't shooting brilliantly. And on official practice day, I really struggled. And it was so windy in Athens. I mean, people were falling out of the boats and things like that. Yeah. And we were trying to shoot in it. And I shot dreadfully. So I was a bit concerned about how I'd go the next day. But, I kind of had this little epiphany. And it was that I don't sleep well when I know something big's going to happen the next day. I really struggle to sleep. I'm a great sleeper. So I knew something really big was happening. And I dreamt of shooting for the very first time in my life. I visualize and do that, but I don't dream of shooting. And in the morning I woke up and it was even windier and the flags were flying crazy. And I remember thinking to myself, today I'm going to win a gold medal. I just can't throw it away. And so from going to sleep unsure, dreaming of it, and then waking up the next day, I was comfortable.
It's really interesting because so much of what's come out of this series is the belief, and almost everybody has said how they were so sure. They had such certainty that they were good enough to win, and that all they had to do was follow their processes. So I'm curious, because unlike a lot of sports, you know, where we have to fire up and get our muscles pumping and everything like that, you've got to do kind of the opposite. You've got to have the calm and the balance and the stability. What sort of things did you use? What techniques did you use to calm yourself down?
I'm an odd shooter. I love to be pumped up. Like on a scale of 0 where you're dead to 10 you're throwing up, I like to be in that 9 category where my knees are knocking. But you also become superhuman. I mean, you see better, you get sharper reactions. You've just got to be comfortable in that place. And so I would do things to get myself into that really uncomfortable zone, knowing that it was good for me. So I'd be really trying to pump myself up and do self-talk. So music, visualization, breathing. I would absolutely thrive on the sense of occasion. So I would try and hammer in. I'm at the Olympics, you know, only today I have to shoot 4 times for 40 minutes and my heart rate's going to be doing 180 for 40 minutes. And that's where I was comfortable and it works for me.
Wow. So, you know, I would have thought that you'd have to bring your heart rate right down. So do other shooters bring it right down, or are you generally up high?
So in rifle and pistol, which are more like a stability aiming sport, they try and bring it down and be calm. For clay target, particularly Olympic trap, you don't know where the targets are going. So you need that adrenaline and that drive to, you know, hunt for the targets better. It's an unknown. So I really think most shooters kind of amp it up a little, but I think some just aren't comfortable being at that really tipping point where that is where I know I perform the best.
Oh, very cool. And James, like, what's it like sitting in the boat knowing that you're like just a few minutes away from that agonizing pain, that lactic acid buildup? Like, what are you feeling and thinking just before the gun goes off?
Oh, you try and, as I said, I used to get really wound up. So to cope with that, just to concentrate on those first 5 strokes out of the start, and then just, well, essentially that, and then allow the rest of the race just to unfold because you've practiced it so many times. But it's the, you know, like the rowing event goes over a week. So, you know, you've got the heats on the Monday, the semi-finals on the Thursday, and the finals on the Saturday or Sunday. So you've got plenty of time in between to think about what's coming up. And, yeah, and all that time you're trying to get yourself, like Suzy was talking about, you know, getting yourself into that frame of mind. But then we're trying to preserve as much energy as possible. So, you know, you're walking upstairs backwards, or you know, to save the legs, or you're just trying to sit around as much as possible and not lift a drink, or, you know, just lying around like a vegetable, so that you've got so much glycogen and energy ready to go. And so you're sort of this weird trying to stay calm and build energy up, but then your mind's going 1,000 miles an hour. So when you actually get on the water, that's when, yeah, there's no more people slapping on the back and wishing you good luck. That's when it's nice and quiet and it's just the crew and you're ready to go and execute a really good race. And, you know, most of the finals, we were pretty confident we'd do well. It's just that for me, it was always that fear of someone having a blinder or something happening. You know, as I said, if you're expected to win and you win, that's what you're supposed to do. But if you don't, like there was that sort of fear of stuffing up, of failing.
So do you think it was fear then that was driving you in competition, although it was enjoyment driving you in training, obviously, but a bit of fear driving you in competition?
Well, yeah, I guess so. I think in the training, I just like to improve, basically, which is a great motive. I think it's a great motivator. I think that everyone should try and do that, irrespective of what the result is. Just try and keep improving. But the racing, like, it's such a fine edge. And, you know, I was pretty balanced. I had family, Bridgie and the kids, and I had worked and trained. So I had quite good balance in life. So my life didn't revolve around a race, but it sort of did. Yeah, you can say you've got a balanced life, but at the end of the day, you're there trying to compete in an Olympic final and try and win the bloody thing. That's what really matters. But it's the same with Suzy. Like, if she misses one target, game over. And so that it's such a fun. Same with you, Kerri. You know, you miss the sideline. You know, the ball's out or it's in, and that can be a huge difference to the end result. And it just comes down to absolute millimeters of between success and failure, and that's what I used to sweat on, those millimeters. And that's why we used to love. That's why in that photo of Athens, when Drew and I were both smashed at the end of the race, we tried to take the race away from everyone else, so it wouldn't come down to millimeters. It would be 3 or 4 meters of margin, and it wouldn't come down to that sprint finish.
Yeah, that's really cool, because I know in our game, obviously, if we hit the ball out or make a mistake, we have got a chance to kind of redeem ourselves in the next point. But I know part of our strategy was to really push hard at the beginning and then hold a team in the middle of the game and then push hard at the end, because like you said, you don't want to be trying to play catch up at
Correct.
the end.
Yeah.
So you started in an 8, then you went to a 4, then to 2, and then back to 8. What makes you make those changes throughout your career?
The selectors.
Okay, you don't have any choice at all. It isn't on your performance, obviously.
No, early on, the 8 was the number 1 boat, and then so that was 88. That's a long time ago. And then it's an interesting story actually, Kerri and Suzy. When the Berlin Wall came down, when the two Germanys came together, there's all these East German coaches, fantastic coaches, not the pharmacists, but the coaches. They came to Australia, or they went around the world, and we got a fantastic guy, Teo Kerner, and he saw us training and racing in a 4 and said, forget the 8, you guys are good enough to go in this 4. And so he changed the mentality of the selectors around. And so that's why we went as the 4, and we won in 92 and then again in 96. And then Nick Green, who you had on just last night, I think, he retired between 96 and 2000, and we couldn't actually find a good enough replacement for him, essentially. So Drew and I ended up in the pair, and we were flying in that. So the selector said, yeah, go for it. Then he hurt his back. So then we had another go in Athens, which was successful. And then by the end, I was hanging on by the skin of my teeth, and the 8 was going well. So I was back in the 8 again.
At 43 years old, I might add. I mean, 42, I think, when you raced. 43, you turned.
I turned 43 in the second week, yes. So
yeah. And you had your birthday, obviously, after you'd finished racing, so that was probably a pretty big night, was it? Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was. I had my birthdays during the Olympics, pretty much. But it was funny, Kerri. I was the guy sitting in front of me, Sam Conrad, was half my age. So I was 42, he was 21. So it was it was great. I loved it.
That was good. He was in the front doing all the work, and you were just sitting behind, taking it easy. But I just want to read something Drew Ginn said about you. Now, this is going to embarrass you, but he said it wasn't about what he said or did. It was intangible, invisible, but I could feel this amazing force or influence he had. He could perform under pressure and do it in a way that appeared magical. It was extraordinary. I know it's going to embarrass you, but what was that? What do you think that was? Was it just experience by the time that you were with him? Was it just your experience and your wisdom that he was able to be a part of?
Well, I mean, it is very nice of him to say that. And I'm not embarrassed at all. I actually love it. And Drew speaks the truth. But I think it... Yeah, that's by the time I was running with Drew, and Drew actually, so sorry, I'm taking up too much time, but so in 1992, I coached Drew at school, and they won the Head of the River. And then 4 years later in 96, having coached him then, 4 years later, he's sitting behind me in the 4 for 96, winning a gold medal. So we go back a long way, and I guess I know just with experience and ability and confidence, and you guys know that confidence is a massive part of it. I guess having been around for quite a while and having quite a bit of success, it's when you're sitting on the start line, if you're a rookie and you've got someone who's got a lot of experience and had a lot of success, then you can tap into that and just go, well, I'm comfortable here. I've got good people around me that know what they're doing. And I think that's what he's saying. And interestingly, now he has that. And when he continued, when I stopped and he continued on, he was that person that his crewmates going forward were looking to for that confidence and that surety and that understanding and that ability to perform when it really counts.
Hey, James. Nick's in the room, by the way, and he goes, "Nice to know I'm irreplaceable."
Well, he was hard to replace. He was a very good linksman.
Just thought I might chime in.
Careful what you say now. Well, because Nick's in the room, we'll go to Suzy. Suzy, obviously after winning gold in Athens, it changed your life, right? It really opened up some opportunities. What happened when you got home? How did you feel? What was going on? How did people treat you in the street?
I did all the parades, and then I was adopted I lived in Wagga at one stage. I lived in Armidale. I grew up in Queanbeyan. At the time of the Olympics, I was in Orange, and all of those communities had civic receptions for me, and it was really nice to be welcomed by communities. Other than that, I went back to working for the Department of Ag. I had a great job there, and I just went back to doing that. We had a locust plague on, and I was one of the state operations managers for that. And so I remember a camera crew coming out with me, checking out locusts one day. And so life changed in bizarre ways, but it really didn't change that much for me in that I was focused on getting to the next Commonwealth Games. It was home games, which was pretty exciting. I think I'm pretty fortunate in having done a semi-Olympics in Sydney, having gone to Athens to do an Olympics, that's the home of it, and then doing a Com Games back at home. So I've been pretty fortunate in those events. But my life changed a little that I was doing more speaking engagements, and the big thing was that I'd gone from being in the shadow of, wonderful people like Michael Diamond and Russell Mark, who are a bit like you, James. They're the legend in the boat that you kind of look up to and go, if they can do it, why can't I? And it's absolutely true that, James would have had that effect on his other athletes. So my life changed a bit, but went back to work, went back to training. That was it.
And you kept on training, unfortunately not getting to Beijing, but then you did qualify in 2012. How was 2012 for you? Were you kind of I'm going to go there because I didn't get to Beijing, and I'm going to...
That was a lovely photo, that one. They were just some strangers that I met in the stands, and we watched Mo Farah win that day. So it was awesome. They were English people. Yeah.
So did you really take the, I know when I went to Athens, it was my third Olympics. Obviously, I wasn't at the top of my game anymore, but I was still good enough to qualify and get there. Did you go to London and really just enjoy the Olympics and obviously see a lot of other sports?
Have we lost me again?
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Cool. So I had been on the top of my game for quite a few years. I missed out on the Beijing Olympics in domestic selection. I was ranked number 3 in the world and was so keen to go. I'd qualified for the Delhi Commonwealth Games, but they'd replaced me with a younger athlete, selector's choice. And then I really, really wanted to get to another Olympics. So I did everything I could to get to London, and I absolutely smashed it to get there. And then I smashed it when I was there. I had learnt how to compete properly. I had built up so much resilience and grit, which is that X factor that you've got to have. I managed to, shoot a personal best. At one stage, I even broke the Olympic record, but it was one of those days where people were just perfect. I qualified for the final in bronze medal position, had a terrible final, but new world records were set that day. And I was so proud of how I went. Any other given day, would have been gold. But, you know, it's the Olympics. It's exciting.
Yeah, anything can happen. Now, obviously, all throughout your career, you've been traveling around the world a lot. I don't know if you can try and turn your camera back on with that button. Yeah, it's not really working for us. Maybe in a sec when I switch back to James, I've got one more question for you, but when I switch back to James, maybe you can log out and come back in. We'll get your camera working. But
yeah,
I'd love to know what it's like traveling with guns, because obviously we can't. How can you? And like, what is it? What's it like? Do people just like? Do you get them, you know, taken off you at times?
Straight after September 11, we were meant to be going to a World Cup final in Qatar, of all places, and it had got postponed to the January the year after. And there was Michael Diamond and Tom Turner and I, and we were at the front of an Emirates flight at Sydney Airport with in our tracksuits with our guns and some ammo and so on. And we actually got partially arrested by the security because it was the first time they'd ever used those snorkely testing things at all. And it happened to be on our gun. So, of course, we tested positive for gunpowder. And, yeah, it was a very interesting day. But, yeah, we get held up a lot. I've spent a lot of time in police stations throughout airports and customs. My gun's been to countries I haven't. The amount of paperwork you've got to do and the extra cost there is involved, it's pretty tough. But, you know, I'm kind of glad it's not a pole vault and it's not a horse or even a boat or something like that. That would be tough. But, yeah, I have had machine guns in my ribs and been in lots of funny little stalls and so on. So it's tough with guns, but you just take it in your stride. It's all part of it and something to laugh about.
Yeah, I guess so. I might get you to log out and log back in, Suzy.
Will do.
See if we get your camera working. James, back to you again, mate.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had the honour of carrying the flag in 2008 at 43 years old. Tell us what? No, was it? Were you 43 in 2008?
Yes, 42.
Yes,
43 in the second week.
Oh, okay, 42 and 360 days.
Yeah.
Tell us what it was like walking out at the front, you know, with the team behind you, and how special was that? How proud were you?
Oh, it was incredible. It really was. It was amazing. You know, you go to a games to compete and do what you've trained to do, and you know, I had an idea that John Coates, the president of the Australian Olympic Committee, was going to ask me to do it because it was going to be my 6th games. So when he asked, you know, fantastic. And then, you know, the build up to it. But I remember, like, one thing, you're about to present a team chock full of some of the best athletes this country can put together and send away. And we were walking toward the tunnel to enter the stadium. And my heart was with pride was pounding in my chest like you wouldn't believe. You know, tears are welling up. And then there was a volunteer there. And as I got closer, he was holding the Australian flag. And all he said was, "Here, this is yours." And when when you grab the flag, and seriously, my heart was bursting out of my chest. I was crying. You know, to walk out of that stadium and have to present to the rest of the world this incredible team, and to have that honour. You know, Australia's been to every Olympic Games, every modern Olympic Games there's been since 1896, and this incredible history. And you think of all of the amazing athletes that have succeeded or that have had incredible experiences or feats that they've done. You know, Australia's history around sport and the striving of those sports people has been phenomenal. And to actually present that team was, like, honestly, it's a throwaway line, but my heart was bursting out of my chest with pride. It was just extraordinary.
And how would you compare that to, like, the birth of your children? without getting in trouble? One of, you know.
Oh, it's similar.
You've got all your children, 500 children behind you,
Yes.
leading them out with
No,
the flag.
it was right up there. You know, like I've got, you know, married with a beautiful wife and 3 gorgeous girls. But honestly, it was up there. It really was.
Awesome. And one thing that a lot of people don't realise is that after games, we all come home, or most of us, depending on what other competitions they have, most of us come home on a Qantas jet, and we're all together. And I think we have a picture of you coming off the plane. I just want to ask you, what is it like in that plane? Because I've never been in it, believe it or not, because I wasn't in it, obviously nowhere to go in Sydney. Athens, we went and played straight after. Atlanta, I think we went and played straight after somewhere else as well. What was it like on the plane on the way home?
Oh, it's just a fantastic celebration. I mean, you know, over the years, the plane trip has changed quite a bit, Kerri, from as the rules around behaviour and consumption have changed. But it's a fantastic celebration. I mean, you've got the team, all the team on one plane. I mean, how good?
Yeah,
how
and
good?
The stories that you must share with each other too, like moving around, chatting to people. Unless you're exhausted, I guess. But you know, I think I would have been awake all the time, just chatting to people the whole time.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, like it's a long flight, generally 24 hours of a couple of legs, so there's plenty of time to sleep and there's plenty of time to catch up and celebrate, and just it is. And that's the beautiful thing about the Olympic Games. Like, we can go to a rowing world championships and it's just rowers, but you go to the games, there's every sport. There's you and shooters and swimmers and runners and cyclists and sailors, and everyone's in there together. They've all shared a similar but different experiences, and just to share that with everyone, it really is. It's one team, a whole lot of different sports, but one team.
And out of all the 6 Olympic Games, what would you think would be your most favourite moment? And it doesn't have to be your moment, but have you got a moment that you'll just never, ever forget, something that just maybe shocked you, you didn't realise it was going to be that special?
I mean, it's quite there's a lot of highlights, definitely. A couple of highlights from other sports. I mean, I was in the stadium watching Kathy win in Sydney. That was phenomenal. And the noise that followed her as she ran around the track was incredible. But one of the other highlights was watching the men's hockey team in Athens. So, the great thing about the sports that finish early in the 2-week campaign is we can get to go and watch you guys compete in beach volleyball, all the team sports. And the men's hockey team, they had supposed to have won about the 3 preceding Olympic Games, and they'd always fallen short for whatever reason. And here was their chance again. And to finally, it was all square at full time, so they went to the extra time and golden goal. And when they won that was phenomenal. That was the first games post September 11. So security was really tight. Laurie Lawrence got about 200 Aussie athletes in on about 20 legitimate tickets. So we stormed through, got our positions, and supported the team. And that was a highlight, absolutely. And I think that is the beauty of the games, is being able to go out and support other athletes, other teams, and share in that whole experience with them was phenomenal.
Yeah, I remember that moment. I was actually there with you as well. And I was on the bus with all the athletes and Laurie Lawrence. Laurie was on our bus. I think we had a couple of bus loads. And I remember Laurie saying to us, "We've only got 20 tickets. There's about 200 of us," or something. He said, "When we get to the gate," he said, "just start singing Advance Australia Fair at the top of your voice. We'll scare the crap out of the Greeks at the gates, and they'll just let us in." And that's exactly what happened. And then I remember when Australia scored that goal to win the gold medal, there were a few people around us and we all had beers in these plastic cups. And seriously, the beers went up in the air. It was like a fountain of beer just rained down on top of us. And I absolutely remember that moment. It was one of my favourite moments in Athens as well. Welcome back, Suzy.
Hi. I have no idea why things are dropping out, but they just are.
That's okay. We have some gremlins sometimes. It's the internet. There's so many people using it. Suzy, we were just talking about our favourite moments. If you look back at the Olympics that you've done and, you know, the time that you've had in the village, what would be something that you remember? It could be your own moment, but maybe another moment that really was just something outstanding that you'll never, ever forget.
I got to not only go to the Kookaburras gold medal winning match, but I got to celebrate with them afterwards in their change rooms. And that was pretty exciting. There was only a few of us in there. And because I'd shot double trap afterwards and all my roommates were still competing, I got to celebrate with these guys until like 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's pretty awesome.
Suzy, you don't remember
you were there, James.
You were there too, yes. It was you and Ilse and Russell Mark and George Mark.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't get an invite. I think I just went to the last lap after that.
I had to use my gold medal pass to actually get in there. George, who was from Tamworth, he was one of our skeet shooters. He played hockey with a lot of the guys. He knew them really well. And at the end of the game, he said, Suze, what's the chance of you and me sneaking in there to, you know, celebrate? And I said, oh, well, we'll give it a go. We got stopped at the security going in. And I went, oh, I've just got to return this to my husband. And they let us in. So we were in there with this gold medal pass.
Yes, we did something similar.
Perfect. Now, one thing a lot of people don't realise as well is that when you win a gold medal, you get your face on a stamp. So we've all had our faces on a stamp. Obviously, James, you've had a lot of stamps, a lot of faces on a lot of stamps, right, over the years?
Yep.
Do you have them all? Do you still have some?
Yeah, probably.
You're not big on memorabilia?
There's a greater chance that my mum will have them, in fact.
And Bridget never used them to post any letters and surprise her friends. Oh, another stamp from James.
No, I don't. Actually, I do know where the one from Athens is because it's on my bench top in my bathroom because I saw it the other day.
So I've got to ask you then, where do you keep your medals, guys?
Oh, mine's pretty easy. It's in my gun safe in a fireproof box, which is inside a very well-alarmed room. So have fun trying to get that one. There,
and you stand there all the time with your gun loaded.
No one's gonna nick your medal, Suzy. No one's gonna nick your medal.
My medal has been shared around probably more than most people's. It is so grubby. It's had rum on it, baby spit, lots. It's amazing how many men want to bite them. It's kind of crazy. It's just gold, so they put it in their mouth, and yeah, that's where I keep my medal.
And Dawny said the other night that no one touches her medals unless they've got white gloves on. What about you, James? Are you somewhere in between the gloves and the baby spit?
Somewhere in between. Yeah, mine are they're in a drawer somewhere in my change in my where am I? Like, honestly, if you walked in, Kerri, if you walked into our house, you would not know that I rode. There's nothing anywhere. I'm
the same.
Yeah, I'm the same, except in this room, obviously. For this series, I've got the pictures up there and the
little trophy room.
Yeah, the little trophy room. We had Lane Beachley on the other night. She actually has got a trophy room because she's got these massive cups. But yeah, amazing.
Yeah, well, Kerri, I got to say, actually, just before you go on, I mentioned my mum and dad with the stamps, but given lockdown, they decided they've got all these old VHS tapes of races, and so pretty much in these last 4 or 5 weeks, they've gone through every race, recorded it, and put it on a CD or a DVD, which is still obsolete, but anyway. They've gone through and they've relived their life of following me around. So they've had a ball doing all of that. So I've got all of pretty much every single race that I rode in. Now they've captured it for me and put it all in one spot.
Do they want to do mine as well?
And mine.
Happy. I'll give her a bit more to do.
Suzy
Oh,
just fell
Suzy.
over. Hey guys, we've got this section called our rapid fire sections, a 60-second sprint. So who wants to go first? Hands up if you want to go first. Okay, Suzy.
Easy. She'd be quick.
Okay, Suzy. So we'll give you 60 seconds on the clock, and it starts now. So how do shooters warm up?
By visualizing the targets before they go out for a shot.
Michael Jordan talks about how many times he missed his shots. How many times do you think that you've missed yours?
Oh, thousands and thousands. But if you didn't miss them, you wouldn't come back again.
And how many guns did you travel with when you were in full competition?
I travelled with one gun, hard enough to go around, but also a spare stock, a wooden bit that is specific to me that went in my luggage.
Oh, that's interesting. Have you ever had an accident with a loaded gun?
No, I definitely have not. Though in China, I did shoot a trap house that had a manned cameraman in it, and it was raining so cold. So yeah, that would be definitely an accident. He's all right.
What scares you?
Gosh,
Oh, are you still there?
I don't like snakes.
Yeah, I don't like snakes either. Cool, thank you. That was interesting. We're having all sorts of internet problems. All good. Are you ready, James?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, ready, set, go. What 3 things make a winning combination in the boat?
Good people, good coaching, and good mental application.
Very well said. How many times have you actually fallen in the water?
A few times, probably half a dozen, I'd say.
How many times have you actually jumped in the water?
Probably about the same.
What's worse, carrying the boat into the water each day or lifting it and carrying it out?
Definitely afterward. Irrespective of whether you've won, lost, or it's just training, they're bloody heavy.
When was the last time you cried?
Oh, probably watching Frozen the other night with the girls,
What do you miss most about competing?
I miss the singularity of focus. That's what I miss.
And who's your favourite teammate? Get you in
Oh,
trouble.
I've got lots. My favourite were the Sydney beach volleyball teammates.
Oh, no, I mean your teammates. In the boat, who is your favourite? You're not going to say, are you?
No, I can't say. They're all good.
No, that's okay. And one question for each of you, because I always like this one. Who's the most famous person that you've ever met?
Oh, it's definitely you two guys.
Apart from us.
I don't know. It's just lots of athletes.
Go on, Suzy.
Just me, lots of athletes. Like I got to do a gym session with a Safa Power once. That was pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
Well, Princess Diana asked to meet me at the Commonwealth Games in 1986.
And did she get her wish?
She did.
What did she say? What did you talk about?
Well, just stuff, how you doing? Stuff like that.
Oh, how awesome. Well, look, we've had a few questions in the chat box. Some you've already answered throughout your stories, but Cookie's going to come back in and just ask you a couple that he's recorded there.
Yeah. Suzy, what's your go-to pump-up song, like when you're getting ready to fire?
I actually like, it would be the Death March out of Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that
Wouldn't have picked that one. I'm going to go to you, James. My daughter is about to start rowing at Kerri. What advice would you give her?
Just have fun. The sport is way too serious at kids' levels nowadays. Just calm it down and have fun.
Calm the fun.
James, another question for you. Which one is your favourite gold medal and why?
Well, I mean, they're all they're all really good in their own way. I mean, the first one was incredible because we didn't know what we were doing. Back to back in Athens and in Atlanta, but then in Athens, I was getting on a bit, and Drew had missed Sydney because of his back. So that was, and the birthplace of the games in antiquity and the modern games. So that was pretty special as well.
So good. Suzy, what was it like winning gold in front of the Aussie crowd?
In Athens, with all those Aussies there, I mean, everyone came out. We had John Coates came out, Peter Brock was there, all the Aussies. It's an amazing feeling. I said the dumbest thing on the very first time I got interviewed. The guy goes, Suzy, I could see you were breathing really heavy there. And I go, yeah, I'll be great at Le Mans, won't I? And then I just remember the whole Aussies all having a really good laugh at that. So it was just awesome but fun.
So good. James, did you answer the one before about where is your favourite regatta course and place to train?
No, I didn't. The favourite regatta course probably, there's a course in Switzerland, in Lucerne, which is a beautiful place. That is beautiful. But training, believe it or not, the Yarra is a great place to train. That beautiful river through the middle of Melbourne in Lockdown Central. That's really nice. And also, there's a place down in Tasmania called Lake Barrington.
Right.
Which is a beautiful, beautiful lake, and just dead flat water, go for miles.
So good. Kerri, I'll hand over to you, and then I'll just do the finals.
Oh, cool. Well, look, that is it for us tonight. I wish we could talk for hours. It's so much fun always just hearing the stories. We're only just getting warmed up. But I want to thank you both so much. It's so awesome to have you guys as friends, and so appreciate you coming on and giving us your time tonight and helping community sport as well. And I also want to thank all the people who've come back night after night enjoying it. We have so much more to come. Tomorrow night we've got Kim Brennan, another rower, female version of James, and we've got an incredible Paralympian, David Hall, who really dominated his sport in the Paralympics. So I just want to leave you guys with this. Love your family, spend time, be kind, make no room for regrets, because tomorrow is not promised and today is short. So I just want to send everyone lots of love, especially in Melbourne and everywhere else that people are struggling at the moment. And I hope that we've been able to inspire you guys just a little bit tonight.
So good. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Please give a wave of gratitude to everyone who's joined us today. Thank you, James. Thank you, Suzy. Last but not least, please make sure that you make a donation before you head off to the Australian Sports Foundation. They surveyed over 70,000 community clubs. $1.2 billion is needed to survive this crisis. It's a lot of money, but every little bit counts. So please make sure that you make a donation in the office area right now. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Kerri, another great job. Well done. And we'll see you all soon. See you later, everyone. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.